What's up, guys? It's your girl Kendall here with 420's Intuition. Welcome back to my channel. Like, share, subscribe, all that good jazz. Well, what's up, people? Welcome to all the new people. Hello, how you doing? This is going to be a new segment on this channel. You guys have been asking me for a while, and I'm finally doing it. Shadow work, okay? What is it? How can you do it? What does it look like? And I thought, what better way than to react to some actual spiritual kind of TikToks? Shadow work isn't only about releasing and removing, it also is about recognizing and accepting and actually doing the work to be able to raise whatever low vibration you have to the actual vibration. Again, accountability. Just know on this channel, I'm never going to tell you guys the easy way. I'm not a love and light worker. I will never admit to being that. I'm a realist, and in order for you to get anywhere in life, you have to do some kind of work. I hope this is a great starting point for you. The reason why I'm not really giving you X, Y, Z, do this, do that, is because everybody's spiritual journey is different. But to get there, there are some basic things you can actually do. You can start journaling. You can actually start maybe notating in your notes whenever you are triggered by something and going back to revisit that. Some people actually sit in front of the mirror and they talk to themselves, and different emotions that come up. Sometimes, they'll start there. Whatever they're triggered by emotionally, looking at themselves, they'll start there. And I'm a newbie just like you. I hope you guys like this video. Take your time with shadow work. Don't beat yourself up, knowing that it doesn't happen overnight. At the end, I'm actually going to go over some positive traits that you actually do work through for shadow work and what that means. So stay tuned to the very end of these clips. Now, I found this YouTube video. It's entitled, "What's one toxic trait you discovered about yourself on your spiritual journey?" Now, this beautiful woman here that you see is the one who actually posed this question. So this is going to be my shadow work video. So if you guys want to know my opinion on how to do it, this is self-explanatory. Take notes. I'll give you some examples from myself and my own experiences. And yeah, so without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. Oh yeah, by the way, any point in time this video hits home for you, please comment below on your toxic trait, which you had to work through for your shadow work, for other people to understand that your experiences, and maybe they'll be able to share theirs as well. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and check this out. Check it out.
What is one toxic trait you learned about yourself during your spiritual healing?
Out of all the things that I learned about myself and uncovered and revealed about myself in my healing journey thus far, did nothing quite hit me like a ton of bricks, like realizing that I too was emotionally unavailable. It was during the time that I was entertaining men.
First step one in shadow work, accountability. Maybe I'll add this word here, accountability. Holding yourself accountable is key when you're doing some kind of shadow work. And that's exactly what this woman has done for herself. Now, what she did is she saw a problem as far as her reflection of her emotional unavailability, and that is exactly why she kept attracting emotional unavailable men. You don't attract fuckboys for no reason, darling. I'm sorry. If you've had fuckboy after fuckboy after fuckboy and you are tired, that means you need to start some shadow work within yourself, because that is exactly what you are drawing into you. Let's go ahead and continue this, shall we?
And I recognized that I kept entertaining emotionally unavailable males. And I would get so worked up. Oh my goodness, why does this always happen to me? Why do I always attract emotionally unavailable males? What's going on? I don't understand. Because I thought, surely I can't be emotionally unavailable. I'm giving so much of myself to this person. I'm showing emotions. I'm caring for this person. So no, it's not me, it's them. And it wasn't until I began healing that I realized that emotional unavailability in women shows up differently than it does in males.
Absolutely. Okay, so I know people just like, well, I had the same exact reaction to, well, I'm a woman, so we're more emotional creatures than men. At one point, I honestly thought that men didn't have hearts, kind of like the Grinch who stole Christmas. I really thought it was like this real big, but again, that was more shadow work I had to do, and that's something I had to retrain my brain. Let's go ahead and see what she has to say.
Because for us, emotional unavailability doesn't look like lack of emotion and emotional presence. Instead, it looks like us pouring a lot of ourselves into those who don't serve us in any capacity, and pushing away and avoiding those who would actually serve us well.
What is one topic?
Case in point, if you always love the bad boy, but you hate the one who actually calls and checks on you to see how you're doing, if you need anything, if that gets on your nerves, sis, shadow work, please. That's all I'm gonna say. Shadow work your ass, okay? Because that's not healthy. That's very unhealthy, and you need to kind of get to the root of that.
Trait you learned about yourself during your spiritual healing. I'll go first. I discovered that I feel as though because I am right, it gives me the right to lash out. And this only hurts me in the end because since my reaction to whatever is being done to me is so detrimental, it gives that person the excuse to jump over what they actually did to me and only focus on my reaction.
You see how possibly one person who is maybe defending themselves in a certain position can't see how that is a toxic trait? When you feel like you need to defend yourself, or you feel like you need to overreact, or feel like you need to go big or go hard or like turn the hell up on somebody, that typically is because you feel inadequate in that conversation, and you possibly feel as though you're so misunderstood that you need to do whatever it is to be heard. Regardless of actually thinking about that, not everybody's going to understand you, and not everybody's going to want to choose to understand you. Some people in arguments or conversations literally twist your words on purpose just because they want to see a reaction out of you. They're baiting you. Okay, so not every reaction needs to be over the top. There are levels to this shit. All right, levels to reacting.
Because I feel as though I am right, acting out, and now it's no longer about what is being done to me. It's only about how I responded. This is why having control over your emotions is so powerful, and it is something that I'm working on during my healing.
Accountability. Does that not sound like another form of accountability? Are y'all getting the actual pattern of shadow work? Shadow work, addressing something within yourself and then placing yourself and holding yourself accountable for said actions.
What is one toxic trait you learned about yourself during your spiritual healing?
So very many things, but I'll start with what I recently learned this month, and that is that I abandon people like the way that I was abandoned. I react in the way that I was taught, in the way that I saw growing up.
I'm gonna stop it right there. You see, a lot of people do discuss shadow work about dealing with things of your past, and that is a heavily part of the core of shadow work. Why? Because as adults, we all tend to hold on to some things. In her case, she's mentioning abandonment issues, and her comes out in the form of abandoning others. Mine, if I had abandonment issues, which I do, everybody has a little bit of some issue, but my issue with abandonment, my reaction is to mainly love people who can't love me back. That's, emotionally unavailable. That's how my abandonment issues come out. Or possibly wanting to get the last word, or possibly using different means to kind of manipulate people to come back to me when I'm ready for them to come back. Now, I don't do those things anymore, but I bet if you talk to any of my exes, they possibly would think, nah, she's probably still like that. But no, I'm really not. I've changed a lot as far as doing these little things. Why? Because I realize how ugly it made me look, and I realize how unhealthy and unhealed I really was at a point in time. So let's go ahead and dive a little deeper.
I detach from people to protect myself in order to keep myself feeling safe. I run.
What is one toxic trait you learned about yourself during your spiritual?
Real quick, my heart wanted to say, are you a runner? You a track star? Every time I mention that on this channel about someone running from love and really not sticking around, I can talk from personal experiences. Typically, what she really meant by that was when someone shows you love, you run. Or if someone shows you a little bit of rockiness, you run. Any chance that you actually have of having a romantic relationship or even a friendship that seems it's a little rocky, you have the tendency to run. you don't deal with it. You just kind of put it in your rearview mirror and you just drive the fuck off. So that's something that actually is not a good healthy trait. Just abandoning people when they need you most, or abandoning people because things get a little tricky. People actually do deserve to have a few chances. Not unless you have umpteenth, 70, 100, 7,500 to a millionth chance. Like, you know, like if it's too many chances like that, nah. But if you're just running after the first inclination, shadow work, add that to your list.
That I used to take pride in telling somebody off and telling them exactly what was wrong with them if I felt crossed.
Ooh, yes. The only thing is, you know, people don't even see this as a problem, right? Like, you're literally having people who are watching this who probably watched that. I was just like, that's not that anything bad. You just got to tell them where they got you effed up. And yes, sis, that's bad, because honestly, who cares? I used to be a reactor too, where I really wanted to stand my ground. That goes back to possibly some deep-rooted feeling devalued, feeling kind of overlooked. There could be other reasons on why you feel like you must tell people how you feel about them. And in reality, it doesn't do you any good, and it doesn't do the situation any good. So sometimes it's better just to hold into it, hold on to all that, and say it under your breath and mumble it to yourself like a natural human being would.
Not every situation warrants that. It doesn't matter if I'm right. It is not my place to drag somebody for all their imperfections. It's just not worth it. Sometimes it's just worth walking the fuck away. Conserve your energy. It's just not worth it.
What? You see, one thing I want to mention is the fact that she actually mentioned it's not right to drag the person by all of their imperfections. And I think that is key, because typically what happens when you dragging somebody, you go for the jugular, okay? You know, your mama didn't love you. That's why you ain't got no edges. That's why you can't keep a man. Like, you know, that's why a lot of people do that. And like she said, it's not worth it. And 9 times out of 10, all you're doing is probably putting your insecurities on that person. And with everybody being human and possibly have experienced those, you're just going to trigger them because you're really trying to deflect of them triggering you.
One toxic trait you learned about yourself during your spiritual healing.
That I played a role in my codependent friendships that I experienced by bonding with people who were not doing as well as me to make me feel better about where I was in my life.
Oh, yes. Another gem from this lady, this woman, her, she, her, yes. When you're doing your shadow work, is you want to control that ego, because that ego, buddy, will keep you in a dark, hurt place. For real, for real.
I was always viewed as like the mom of the group, or the person that everyone can come to for advice and for help if need be. And over time, I prided myself on that and began to use it as a distraction in the sense of I would seek out friendships where I'm hearing about your problems, so I ain't got to deal with my own problems. And I can recall complaining about, oh my goodness, my friends are so needy and just they don't think how they should, and they'll take care of themselves the way they need to be. I would complain so much about where they were and how they thought. But the sad reality was I needed for them to be wounded so that I could feel better about myself and validate myself for being able to save them and help them out. Can we say codependent?
All of that showed her she was codependent by needing to be that go-to, that friend, that mother, if you will, of your friends. By needing to actually always be needed to help people in case of emergencies, stuff like that. I mean, I definitely possibly had a little case of that as far as codependency now that I think about my friends, because a little bit that she spoke of, that was my personality. However, I didn't really see it as codependent, but until I've been placed in different situations and I'm like, oh, you have some codependency issues. And that was one more thing I had to cut down. So you guys are seeing the pattern again. It all comes down to accountability.
I would complain and claim that I wanted more independent friends who could think for themselves and wouldn't lean on me so much. But deep down, I didn't want that for real. Because as unhealthy as it was, for a while it felt good to be needed in that way.
What is one toxic trait you learned about yourself during your spiritual healing?
I am not good at forgiving. Okay.
I'm gonna let this man talk, but real quick, he's not a good at forgiving. Do you see that? The acknowledgement of the fact that honestly, being unforgiving or holding grudges and not really genuinely moving on, that is definitely something that you have to address in shadow work, because you're still, what's with the deal with the resentment?
For starters, I am a huge advocate for you don't owe people forgiveness. I don't believe forgiveness is necessary, but there are going to be instances where people are going to disappoint you, and there are going to be instances of conflict in interpersonal relationships, no matter how you slice it. My problem was that I was holding on to a lot of resentment without even recognizing it. My issue is that, like, you know, even though I thought I was forgiving people and moving on, I was actually just like pushing aside my true feelings and not processing them well because I was so hell-bent on creating peace in the situation. Not good in the long term. Moral of the story, give yourself space to process your emotions, but even beyond that, make sure that you're taking the time to validate your own emotional experience and your feelings on the matter. It just hurts people.
What is one toxic?
So kind of how we basically ended it, definitely when it comes to addressing it. For one last example is, if you are easily triggered by the things that you said that you forgave or you forgot, if you have any sense of anger, any sense of just overwhelming feeling it without even expressing it, maybe you really haven't moved on, and your shadow work that you must do is the lack of closure. Some people just want to move on because they don't want to actually have a final chapter, or they don't want to actually hear the truth. So maybe in his, and to piggyback off of him, on the flip side of being always needing to have closure, never wanting closure or feeling like you never need it could actually also be something that's detrimental, because you never know what you could be carrying in your bag lady, like Erykah Badu.
Trait you learned about yourself during your spiritual healing.
Not everyone has to know what I know or what I think I know. Now, I'm still learning and still healing, but this one, babe, if I didn't keep my ego in check, she would really have me out here running around telling other people how to live their lives every damn day, because I learned a thing, and so you should know that thing, and if you don't know that thing, then you aren't, whatever. And everyone is on their own individual journeys. Everyone is doing the best that they can with the information that they have and with the experiences that they've lived through. They will learn what they need to learn when they need to learn it. And maybe they won't. But either way, that's none of my fucking business, and I need to keep my eyes on my own paper.
Yes. Is it just me, or do you guys see a lot of this in the spirituality world as well? The spiritual world is just like crawling with egotistical people. It's very sad. It's very interesting to see the chips on a lot of people's shoulders. I don't really agree with, okay, I learned this great manifestation thing, and if you're not doing like this, you're never going to do it. It's never going to happen. You're always going to fail. You see how intense that was? Or people who like to hold on to things. Well, I learned this, and then you ask them, hey, so where did you go? Like, what was your starting point? Well, I'm not here to teach you. Like, you need to do research on your own. Yeah, but where'd you start? I need a starting point. I don't care. I'm definitely a person who will do research on their own. But if you guide me at least in the right direction, because then it'd be easier for me to get on that supposed level that you want me on, sis.
What is one toxic trait you learned about yourself during your spiritual healing?
Okay, this one was kind of a tough pill to swallow, but I realized that I was a master manipulator. Oh, still get like a blockage in the throat when I say it, because I'm not proud of that. I'm not proud of the fact that I went so many years of my life unconsciously manipulating and not even understanding how I was doing it. When you do not have your needs met or validated or seen as important when you're younger, you develop this way of working your reality in a way where you get your needs met without having to ask for them. And
what I get that she's saying, I'm understanding what she's saying, but it's kind of like play chess, not checkers. If you've grown up strategizing on how to get what you want out of people your whole life, or how to master certain things, that is something shadow work definitely needs to be done. Because yes, you have to be in survival mode here and there as far as strategizing your way around people, absolutely. But when you're 24/7 in survival mode, that is a problem, and that is a trigger, and that could come from baggage, again, from your childhood. A lot of this shadow work starts with things that you have repressed. That's why I always people talk about therapy. I talk about the benefits of that, because honestly, a lot of people are blocked at certain ways, and therapy can open you up to really start this process.
It didn't really work out so well in my favor, and it took me hitting rock bottom to realize I can't just play victim. Okay, I have nobody to blame except myself in this situation, and I created this. So yeah, realizing that you don't need to manipulate to have your needs met.
What is one toxic trait you learned about yourself during your spiritual healing?
So besides the trap of choosing to be right over choosing to be happy, I realized I was in a cycle of victimhood and I had to take my power back. And this for me starts with learning to validate yourself instead of waiting for people, places, things, events, all of the things to do it for you.
Yes, she's speaking to the ones that are actually talking about more validation. So another thing for shadow work is, I think a lot of these people have been talking mainly about the reactors, the overreactors, the outwardly expression of, or signs that someone needs to actually do shadow work. But there are internal expressions and mental signs, I should say, or notes within yourself. Now I'm not really gonna finish the rest of this video because it is kind of long. Actually, no, there's one other thing I want to show you guys. I want to fast forward. This lady spoke very eloquently. However, I think I need to get to someone else, okay?
Your spiritual healing.
That my people pleasing was about manipulation and control. Now don't get me wrong, my people pleasing was a trauma response, and I lived in...
You hear that? People pleasing. I talked about, you know, the outwardly appearance of it and the anger and the rah and all that stuff. I also talked about the need of validation, but people pleasing is another need. Underneath the umbrella of validation, you have people pleasing. If you're always putting other people before you constantly, I'm talking about to the detriment of yourself, of your mental health, your physical health, your well-being, and you know who you are. That is something, sis, that has to go. It's not a trait that anyone should actually hold on to, okay?
Actual fear of people being mad at me. But just because something came from a place of trauma doesn't mean it stopped being manipulation. I found that if I could make myself as small and accommodating and unassuming as possible, people wouldn't be mad at me. And if they did get mad at me, I could just make myself smaller and more accommodating. And then kind of like, ooh, you're a dick for being mean to somebody who is so meek.
I paused it too soon, but I need to talk about this, okay? This is gonna be the last video of this segment, but I need to talk about this. I know someone who I worked with, an old co-worker of mine. Instantly, I met this girl, right? And like instantly, I was just turned off. Within the first week of me meeting her and seeing how she was, because I'm a very observant person and sometimes I just sit back and I people watch. I just like people watching. So I'm sitting there and I was seeing different things she was doing and different conversations she was having and how she maneuvered and how she pinned a lot of people against each other, but then would act so meek and so nice and so, oh my God, like shit like that. It was the wool over everyone's eyes but mine. And because I was, you know, bigger than her, and because I was a more assertive talker, I got looked at as the bad guy, and people overlooked her little things that she was doing. So that in itself, you had two people who needed to do shadow work. It pissed me off because there are people like that. So if you have that trait, you know who you are, work on it, sis. Please work on it.
Again, none of this was deliberate, and all of it was a fear-based trauma response. But trauma responses don't make it any less toxic. And likewise, I had to recognize my role in very toxic interpersonal dynamics. Recognizing that I wasn't always just the sweet, helpless victim was humbling.
What is one toxic trait?
All right, so we're going to end it right there because I feel like we covered all different basics and you kind of get the feel of what shadow work is all about. Now, I just want to kind of touch base a little bit about the positive things that shadow work can actually do, or some positive attributes that you actually do work through for shadow work. I have this perfect example. Say, for instance, I had this friend named Kim. All right, so Kim, all day, every day, she just going around as the happiest person I've ever met. From the moment she wakes up to the moment that she goes to sleep, everything is just rainbows and kittens and nothing is wrong, right? So in my mind as Kendall, I'm like, why the hell is Kim so damn happy? Everything can't be that damn peaches and cream. What the hell is going on? She's delusional. She needs medication, right? That's me judging her, was me knowing I have shadow work. Not shadow work as far as just being rude or being a bitch, but shadow work of actually acknowledging my jealousy of her internal and everlasting happiness, right? And realizing that I can then try to trick myself in actually being able to be a happier person. I can do it with affirmations. I can do it with trying to really dig deep on what I'm doing to stop happiness for myself, why I actually don't deem a lot of things happy, and again, going down that rabbit hole in order to come back to the root of happiness and how I can add it to my life. So I hope that makes sense. So I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Feel free to comment below to let other people know how your journey was, if you resonated with any of these concepts of shadow work, or if you're just really excited to start your journey. I definitely appreciate you guys tapping into this video. Smash the like button out the way as well, and I'm sending y'all nothing but good highs and good vibes your way. Later.